picture, curtain lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every part by heart. Overture, curtain lights. This is it, we'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
Hey, we're back. I'm Goose, and this is On With the Show. I want to thank you for coming back. In today's show, we are going to be talking about probably, in my opinion, one of my favorite TV shows of all time, and it's considered a cult classic, a sci-fi show that ran from 1989 to 1993. Had just under 100 episodes. It was 97 episodes altogether, and yet it is considered one of the top cult TV shows of all time, and that is the show Quantum Leap. Yes, I had an opportunity to finish watching all of the OG Quantum Leap this last week because as I was clicking into my Peacock, um, it basically told me that you only have so many days to finish watching the show. Now, this basically happens all the time with streaming services. Is that basically um, they have a show that's under contract. They only have it for so long, and they only keep them on the streaming service for so long. And for some reason, I don't know why, because NBC owns Quantum Leap. They decided that we're going to take it off the platform, and you only have so many days to watch it. And yet, I binged pretty much almost all of season five um, within days. Probably what 5 days. It's like 22 episodes, and I love the show. I think it's one of the best shows that it deals with a lot of social issues that continue to go on today. Now, if you have never seen the show, if you've never seen the OG Quantum Leap, it basically Sam Beckett steps into the Quantum Leap accelerator. He vanished to time travel within his own lifetime, which is interesting because we know how old he is pretty much, and when he was born, but you would figure his lifetime would go beyond that, and so he would probably maybe even go into the future. But it never did do that. It was basically everything was done, within the confines of where he was at that point from the time he was born. Primarily, we only get two actors or two characters, which is Sam Beckett, played by Scott Bakula, and we get Al, who's played by the late Dean Stockwell. And the interesting part is, of course, is Al is a hologram that only Sam can see, and he comes in and out. And it's interesting when there are times where people walk through him or objects come through him. Only little children and animals can see him, aside from Sam, and so it becomes real interesting when he has to go through all of these different scenarios to basically you know, find out what was wrong and make it right, and change history for the better. As the intro continued to do through all these times, it was so popular that they even brought back Quantum Leap for a reboot. We'll talk about that a little later on because I'm finding some disheartening news as I keep reading on and on about the newest Quantum Leap. But and kind of why certain things are happening with that show. But let's talk about the OG Quantum Leap for a minute and talk about some of the things that why it was so good. For first of all, it dealt with some very serious issues, and especially a lot of social issues. It dealt with single parenting. It dealt with race issues, interracial relationships. That episode happened during the Watts riot, which was made everything very, very interesting. It dealt with racism, and where Sam even leaps into a KKK member. He tries to wrong the right of what's going on there. He leaps into a rape victim to find out what to testify against her rapist. He leaps into he leaps into a soldier in the middle of Vietnam, middle of the Vietnam War, to save his own brother, which is really crazy and interesting. And each time along the way, what I find is that he doesn't know where he's at when he finally lands into this person. And there's one episode that deals with racism, where he goes in, he sits down at a lunch counter, not realizing that he's a black man in the South sitting at a lunch counter. And of course, if we all know our history, that was a no back then. But that all worked itself out. I mean, at the end of the episode, where he tried to be nice and play nice, and the very end, he ended up changing history by being able to sit at that lunch counter with one of his friends, and it's those kind of things that make this show really good. I mean, and there are some crazy spots in here, because I mean, I've always have said that I thought season 5 was kind of the weakest. At the end of season 4, that's kind of where I think maybe it jumped the shark. That is when that episode is when he leaped into Al, a young version of Al, and unknowingly, causes uh, his demise by basically saying to somebody, don't testify against me. I'll figure out how to fix it. And even though Al came back and said, "Yes, I'm glad you did that because now people are talking about her," and but it ends up at one point. I'm going to give up some, little few spoilers, but it also, puts Al in a position where he's going to die, and they have to figure out what happens, um, and they are even able to get out of that. But when he leaped in the alley, I kind of like, oh, maybe this is where they jumped the shark. And then, of course, the very next episode, he leaps into, of all people, Lee Harvey Oswald, and I went, okay, here's where they jumped the shark. But I come to find out through a little bit of research that Donald P. Belisario, who is the creator of Quantum Leap, actually had his own personal run-in with Lee Harvey Oswald, and that's kind of the reason why that episode was written. But season 5 also gave us some great episodes where he plays a returning Vietnam veteran that has had his legs blown off. He comes back as a guy who saves an heiress from drowning, and they end up on a deserted island together. Um, and a lot of these episodes are really good. They're some of my favorites. But when you leap into Dr. Ruth Westheimer, God rest her soul, that's when you kind of like, okay. By the time they got to season 5, they're realizing they're running out of ideas, and they got to make sure that they don't like like basically jump beyond the realm of possibility here, or probability. And then, of course, by the end of uh, the second to last episode of this whole series, he leaps into Elvis Presley, and that's when I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, this I've had enough." That I don't know what else that could be done here, other than I think they just found the end of their road, and of course, the very next episode was the finale. Um, but it dealt with a lot of serious issues. It dealt with sexual harassment. It dealt with homosexuality, especially in the military. It dealt with it's a lot of race issues, a lot of different race issues at the time. We dealt with the Vietnam War. It dealt with just dealt with veterans in a whole sense, of how PTSD. Um, that's one of the reasons why I really love this show, because it wasn't the same. I mean, it was the same in where he leaps into somebody, he has to figure out what the problem is, and then he has to fix it. But in the ways in which he fixes it, kind of like boggles the mind. And how's it? I mean, and he leaps into a disc jockey who has to save his radio station in order to help the owner of the radio station out. Because if he doesn't, some of my notes are, because if he doesn't, she's going to end up living a life of despair. It's always like in the end, it's like something happens where, uh, yeah, something's going to happen that an event happens that's going to harm not just that person but an entire family. Hold on, coffee time. I mean, there was one episode where he leaps into like a 12-year-old boy on a road trip with his family, and he's trying to convince the mom that that she should go back to school, and trying at the same time trying to convince the dad of hey, this is probably a good idea for her to be able to find herself or whatever, because apparently in the original history she runs off. They don't know where she ran off to. They just think that she ran off with some dude, um, which ends up becoming not the thing at all. Um, and so it's all about how he's able to time travel and at the same time help people out. It is just an amazing, amazing show. It was. Let me see if I can pull up some of the stuff here. As here it is. Quantum Leap is on IMDb holds an 8.2 out of 10 rating. It won 6 primetime Emmys, mostly for editing and cinematography, and but its creator Donald P. Bellisario and Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell, they were all nominated through that time period, but they never won. It did win, like I said, it did win 18 uh, other awards, including Golden. Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell both won Golden Globes. Um, if I can come through, like I said, 97 episodes, uh, all of which featured Bakula and Stockwell. And it's just one of those. I mean, he was a boxer in one. He was a he was a nerd in one. He was a lawyer a couple times. He even played. There was even one episode. This was in season 5 where he played a vampire, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is a little bit too much for me. But the other thing about Quantum Leap that I think is really really good is the massive amount of co-stars that were in all the different episodes. Let me just give you a quick list of some of the people that were in Quantum Leap: Chubby Checker, Brooke Shields, Terry Hatcher, Jennifer Aniston, Neil Patrick Harris, Bob Saget, and those are just a few. And I said Dr. Ruth Westheimer; she was in one episode. Bruce McGill, amazingly enough, he was in the very first episode, and he was in the very last episode. I thought that was so appropriate for him to be in both episodes. Um, it is just an amazing, and just find that some of these stars basically got some of their work on Quantum Leap before they went on to do other things. I mean, think about that was Jennifer Aniston before Friends. That was Terry Hatcher before Desperate Housewives. That was Bob Saget before Full House. I mean, it had a wide range, and I mean, I only got into just a few of them. Into just a few of them. There are many, many more. Debbie Allen was in an episode. Let me see if I can pull up. But it is just an amazing, amazing, history here of this show. I hope that it comes back on Peacock. At the very least, I would encourage you to try to find it somewhere on streaming, because it's worth a watch. They did about 22 episodes a season, and just I mean, just continued to just flourish. I do think that it ended at just the right time, though. I think that 5 seasons. I would have liked to have seen it make that magical 100 episode list. Um, but I think that there are some things that I think are more important to do for a show than to hit a marker. right? You know what I'm saying? It's just it's more important to tell a good story, to basically have a good show and try to reach that limit to where you don't have a show where you jump the shark. It's inevitable though, because eventually you run out of ideas. You run out of ideas and you try to pull something um, out of thin air to continue to bring back viewers or keep viewers. And the number one thing you can do to keep viewers is basically just make sure that those who are watching are still able to find it. I went to the sad news is I went to as I was researching this because I also have become a fan of the new Quantum Leap, and out of two seasons already, with as I'm going to look over here, Raymond Lee and Caitlin Bassett, they play Ben Sung and they play Addison. She plays Addison. I don't know what Addison's last name is. Um, and strange enough, it has also one of the best characters with Mason Park Anderson Park playing Ian, and Ian happens to be non-binary, and I think that they have taken that idea of a character because you know he's non-binary, but at the same time it's not an in-your-face kind of thing. Um, and he's someone that looks feminine and at the same time also looks masculine. Um, and I think by having a character like that, one of the major characters like that, who's non-binary, and shows a very positive portrayal of someone who's non-binary on a television show like Quantum Leap is really really important. So if, at the end of season two of the new Quantum Leap, they basically had they were trying to bring Ben home, and they thought, well, let's try this new formula, and in order to for it to work, someone has to leap out so that Ben can come back. And so Addison decides that she's going to leap out so that Ben can come back. And instead, what ends up happening is in the next leap, Ben and Addison end up together and they run off together hand in hand. I'm thinking, okay, great. This is a perfect beginning for season three. Only we're not getting season three. NBC, in their divine wisdom, has decided not to greenlight season three for Quantum Leap, the new Quantum Leap, leaving it in a giant quandary. We don't have no idea what happened. At least with the finale of the OG Quantum Leap, we get some type of a finale where we discover that Sam has more control over his leaps than he thinks he does. He thinks God is bouncing him around. But in actuality, he has more control over his leaps than we think he does. And we come to find out that he goes back. He helps save Al's marriage to Beth. They have four kids in the postscript, and then we find out, that Sam never returns, which means he found it more. He found more enjoyment being able to right the wrongs that needed to be, that needed to be done. I would have loved to have seen Ben and Sam in an episode together where they actually work on getting Sam home, because that was the goal. One of the reasons why we watched every week was, hey, is he going to end up coming home? And when we found at the end of season five that he wasn't coming home, we were like, oh my gosh, he's still out there. He's still leaping. He's still going from life to life, writing what once went wrong. Um, the reasons why NBC has decided now NBC has decided to, of course, re-up all the Chicago shows, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, all the SVU shows. They've re-upped all those shows, you know, um, but they're not going to re-up Quantum Leap, leaving it in kind of one of those mysterious. How do I explain it? it just basically we're just basically left with we don't know what's going to happen. I thought for sure. Well, I mean, here's what I thought for sure was going to happen. I thought for sure what was going to happen was that Ben and Addison were going to go off and they were going to fix this thing and they were going to right the wrong and they were going to leap. And what it was going to end up happening was Ben was going to go off to the next leap and Addison was going to leap back. That's what I thought was going to happen. Then you get season 3 where they got all the different stuff for Ben. And I think one of the reasons why, and of course, NBC decided that it's dwindling viewership for the reason why they didn't renew the new Quantum Leap, the reboot. I could basically say that the reason most likely why is because they kept the show was scheduled to come on at 10 o'clock on Tuesdays and then be on Peacock the next day. And I have Peacock. I don't watch live TV anymore. Unless it's streamed from some service, unless it's like, I do watch, I watch SummerSlam live because through Peacock because I could do that. But every week I would come to watch Quantum Leap and watch the new one and see what happened. What's going on with Ben and Addison and going on. What's the new thing they got to deal with? What Ian and Jen they have to figure out how to keep Magic from finding out that they got the chip from someone to try to get Ben home. And, some of the storyline from season 2. And I would go to watch the episode, and it wouldn't be there. And I would be like, "What? Why is the episode not here?" And of course, this was going on, I think, during much of the holiday season. Much of the holiday season where they show the tree lighting and they show this, they have this special and they got this Christmas special and they've got this going on. And yeah, let's put it right here. And and the thing of it is that, and this happens with every show that they've done this with, not just NBC, but every one of them have done this. And that is that they when they decide to screw around with a show and move the time slots, when they said, you used to be on Tuesday nights, but now we're moving you to Fridays. Oh yeah, you used to be on, first of all, Mondays or during the fall are not good because you're competing with Monday Night Football. But yes, we used to have you on Wednesdays, but now we're going to have you put you on, over here on Saturdays. Yeah, yes, we know you're on 2 o'clock, but we need to show this special, and so we're going to kick you back another week. Oh, maybe we'll kick you back 2 weeks. When viewers can't find their show, they just stop. There's no more interest. They stop watching. And so and I know I've slowed down on this because usually I'd be yelling and screaming, but I want to keep calm. Usually, what needs to happen is that if you want a show to succeed, you've got to keep it on a regular time slot. You can't just up and kick it and expect the viewers to come back when it comes back. Because when you don't show a television show for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, because of the holidays, all of a sudden it's like, they begin to think, well, maybe it doesn't have as big of a following as they think it does. I'm hoping that the powers that be over at NBC either decide to bring it back at least for a replacement after the new year, or they decide that they're going to stream it on one of the other platforms, like so that it continues to have some kind of following. Because I would love to know what happens in season 3, even if season 3 is the end of the show. Even if they're like, we're not doing another season after season, at least give it a proper finale. Don't leave us hanging out in the middle of nowhere, wondering what happened to them. Give us something that we can like. Oh, we have closure now. Every show should have some type of finale just to have closure, just to give their fans like a deep breath. But for some reason, NBC has decided not to do that, and it's made me upset because I was looking forward to seeing what season 3 was going to be about, and I don't get the chance to see it. And I'm smiling because I'm in like yes. I need coffee. He knows what I'm talking about. All right. Thank you for watching the show today. I really appreciate you sticking with me. And let me rant about one of my favorite television shows of all time. Let me know what you think of the show Quantum Leap. Let me know if there's another show out there you want me to watch. I've watched a lot of, especially cult shows. I've seen Freaks and Geeks. I love it. I love Star Wars. I'm sorry, Star Wars, Star Trek. I've watched actually all 5 seasons, both the 3 seasons of the live and the 2 seasons of the animated show. Make it the 5 seasons, 5-year adventure. So if there's a show out there you want me to check out, I will be more than happy to check out and talk about it. But I love talking about this show. This was one of my favorite shows, and when I was a lot younger. And I just wanted to pass it on to you as it is a cult classic as it is today. If you liked the video, give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, as it does help me out with the algorithm. And share this out to your friends and let them know what I'm doing over here. And above all things, leave me a comment again. Let me know what you think. Am I off? Do you think I'm right? Do you think do we need a season 3 for at least for Quantum Leap just so that it'll finish properly, or are we good with where it's at? Just let me know. Anyway, I am Goose with On With The Show. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the other side.
Overture, cut the lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Overture, cut the lights. This is it, we'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.